Search marketers normally focus on optimizing for Google. Since Google has a large percentage of the search engine traffic share, that makes sense. But how do you rank on Bing? If you optimize for Google, will that automatically rank you well on Bing too? And does it even matter? Let's discuss what you need to know about how to rank on Bing.
And now it's time for some more DIY SEO tips with Jennifer Regina.
Okay, first, does Bing matter? Before we talk about how to rank on Bing, let's talk about if ranking on Bing even matters. Most marketers focus only on Google because most searches happen on Google. But how big of a share does Bing have? According to ComScore, Bing, or Microsoft sites, has about 25% of the share for desktop searches. Now, that is specific to desktop, and mobile Bing searches are drastically lower than desktop, but still, 25% of desktop shares is a big enough piece of the pie to matter. Now, this share might be larger than expected. Bing not only powers the search results on Bing, but they are also used for Yahoo search results. So Bing not only has a decent chunk of the market share, but there's also less competition. If you start focusing some effort towards Bing, you may find the traffic converts better than Google. The search engines both have different demographics, so the traffic you receive from the search engines will not be equal. It's worth seeing if the Bing audience converts better or worse on your website than the traffic you receive from Google. Towards the end of this article, we'll go over how to view how much traffic you get from each search engine in Google Analytics. So if you want to rank on Bing, first you should start off by listening to Bing. So Bing provides a few options to make it easier to understand how they rank content. The first one are the Bing Webmaster Guidelines. So this is a pretty short read. It's a concise overview on some of the most important ranking factors and on-page elements Bing takes into consideration when ranking websites. And this is actually an official document put out by Bing with their guidelines on how to rank well on their search engine. So it's definitely worth looking at. It's good to review the guidelines so you have a clear understanding of what is important to Bing. And then next are the Bing Webmaster tools. You'll want to set up and monitor the Bing Webmaster tools. This is a portal Bing provides to website owners at no cost that has a ton of free information and tools. It provides data specific to your website and has a ton of useful tools. It has a tool to submit your sitemap to Bing, an SEO analyzer to identify SEO improvements on a page-by-page basis, and it lists out any crawl errors. You can even use it to submit URLs to Bing that you want indexed. It also notifies you of suspicious activity or security issues. This is the best way for Bing to get in direct contact with you. If there is an issue with your website preventing you from ranking as well as you could be, this is where they are going to tell you about it. The other nice option about the Bing Webmaster tools is it not only allows Bing to communicate with you, but you can also contact them. There is a help menu at the top. It's the question mark icon, and it has a link to contact support. This will allow you to send them an email with a specific question. Now, if your question is generic and can be answered with their support forum, you probably won't get a response. But if you have a question specific to your account, this is a great option. Okay, and then the next thing that you need to know if you want to rank well on Bing is to create content for searchers, not for search engines. So before we worry about the specific ranking factors, we should remember to always create content for searchers, not search engines. This comes directly from the Bing Webmaster Guidelines, but it applies to every search engine. Whether you want to rank on Google or Bing, your best bet is to provide the best value possible for your target audience. This is how you'll see long-term SEO success. Search engines want to provide the best experience possible for their audience, and if your website helps accomplish their goals, then you'll rank higher. Instead of trying to take advantage of every new trend to rank higher, think about how you can provide the best content and experience for your reader. Then, as search engine algorithms change, your website will only get ranked higher and higher. You won't need to worry as much about changes and new trends. All right, now let's dig into some of the Bing ranking factors and the differences from Google. So user engagement is the primary focus for Bing, and their strongest ranking factors are based on engagement. Those factors include pogo sticking, which we'll go over what that means in just a minute, social, and site authority. There are several other factors that play a role as well, and we'll go over some of the most important Bing ranking factors and explain how they vary from Google. So first, let's talk about pogo sticking. One of the important metrics used to determine engagement is referred to as pogo sticking. This is when a user clicks your link in the search results, visits your site, but then immediately clicked back to the search results page and selected the next response. When this happens, the search engine decides the page did not match the search query in a way that was helpful to the user. And if that happens often, the page will start to rank lower. And this behavior is something Google monitors as well. And oftentimes, the best way to monitor this is by looking at your bounce rate metric. Okay, the next ranking factor is social. Bing has made it clear that social networks do play a role in their ranking algorithm. Google claims social has no impact on their rankings. But Bing has also made it clear that trying to game the system will not help you. They have a system in place to gauge influence. So by using the social networks in a natural manner and building your following over time, you can positively impact Bing rankings as well. Next up is site authority. So Bing places a high value on site authority. They look at factors such as the age of the domain and the name, brand, or keywords that are in a domain name. Google looks more at the authority of each individual page, whereas Bing looks more at the site as a whole. The PageRank metric was actually created by Google and is completely irrelevant on Bing. Okay, and then the next factor are exact keywords. So Bing prefers exact keyword usage more than Google, both in the site content and as the text in links. Google uses synonyms interchangeably, but exact keyword usage still plays a role in the Bing ranking algorithm. Okay, and then mobile. Bing does want your site to be mobile friendly. It doesn't use a mobile first index like Google does, but it does still factor into your ranking. And then lastly, page speed. So just like in Google, page speed does matter. However, Bing doesn't believe the user experience should be jeopardized to improve page speed. You won't be penalized on Bing for having a 4-second load time instead of a 1-second load time if the experience the site visitor gets on the website is ideal. Okay, and then how can you review this data? Where can you review your Bing data? So you can actually review your Bing data in Google Analytics and in the Bing Webmaster tools. So to find it in Google Analytics, you'll go to Acquisition, All Traffic, and Channels. At the top, you'll see a few little tabs right above the data table, and you'll just click on Source there. And that will list out each search engine as a source. So you might see Google, Bing, and Yahoo all listed there. Okay, and then you can also see some data in the Bing Webmaster tools. So if you go directly to your Bing Webmaster tools, once you log in there, just click on Search Performance. And this will show you the search impressions, clicks, average click-through rate, and the average position. And if you want to compare the data you found in Bing Webmaster tools to Google, you can log into your Google Search Console account, and in the Performance tab in Google Search Console, you'll see the same metrics listed. And this will allow you to easily compare the data. So for the most part, if you're focused on optimizing for your target audience, your search rankings will increase in both Bing and Google. But knowing the differences and how you can improve your Bing rankings can help you get an advantage over your competition.
Thanks for listening, and if you enjoyed this, please subscribe. This episode was brought to you by ClearPath Online, a DIY SEO tool for your website.